Dark Days, the casting #1, Scott Snyder writing, along with James Tynion the fourth. And we have art once again by Andy Kubert, Jim Lee, and John Romita Jr. And here we go. So this is the second of two Prelude issues of Dark Knight's Metal. I'm just going to... I get why they did it, because they like to have different artists for the first two issues, and they get to sell 3-issue ones. But, just call it Dark Knight's Metal 1 and 2, and have it be any issue series. Stop having your cake and eating it too.
I'm hoping that when the first issue starts, it feels different enough to justify why these two were separate.
Yeah, especially with the Capullo art. I feel it's going to.
I feel like this could have been a 1 and 2.
It could have been.
Start with a 1.
That's a good point. Even if the main series feels different, this very much could have just been 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but this is also kind of like Countdown to Infinite Crisis, where it's setting up events. It's weird that we had two of them instead of just the one.
Hence why it would be 1 and 2, because it would be parts 1 and 2 of that process.
Yeah, but Countdown to Infinite Crisis wasn't like issue 1 of Infinite Crisis. It set up all of the different through lines, even of the minis, like the OMAC Project and Villains United, ran Thanagar War. So, and I feel like these are doing the same kind of things, but you really can't call it a countdown. Right, it's really not countdown to metal.
I don't mind these being a prelude. But I think it should have been one series prelude, like issues 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Matt. Is that?
I thought you were saying like this should have been issue 1 and 2 of Metal.
I said that at first. But then Connor brought up just these should have been 1 and 2 of their own thing, and then Metal. If Metal feels different.
Well, then that's fine.
Like, had you had 2 Countdown to Infinite Crises, for example, they could have been 1 and 2 instead of being Countdown to Infinite Crisis and then Countdown to Infinite Crisis 0 Hour, or whatever you want to call the second one. That'd have been confusing. But
I'd have just called this Dark Days 1 and 2, and then Dark Nights.
Yes. Yeah, and then Casting and Forge would just be the titles on the title page for the story. Aye. But anyway, let's talk about what's actually in the bloody book. I think the arc is even shakier this time than it was in the Forge.
That's being generous, Pete.
Hey, I'm being diplomatic, alright?
Yeah, this is simultaneously the stuff that I love that Snyder did as Batman and hated. So, I really loved the first issue. The Forge was so much fun and got me hyped.
I really thought you were going to talk about the art there, because you responded to my art. So you said, "Oh, that's being generous, Pete," and then you immediately went into something else. I thought you were going to go into the art, but yeah. Go on.
That's part of the problem. But like, this felt like he was just plucking storylines from the air because he forgot to set them up in the Forge. Well, we got more of the Joker plot, but I don't necessarily know if more was better. So, but yeah.
I'm definitely a lot more mixed on this one than I was the Forge.
Mm-hmm.
Art aside, which I am much more down on, even though I wasn't really positive on it last issue.
Well, no, I don't think any of us were. I think we were all critical.
I think we all thought the art was individually fine, but it didn't really flow well.
No, Romita Jr.'s not fine.
All right.
Well. No, I still don't understand. Like, this is broken up into vignettes. That why couldn't one artist just do the Hawk stuff, and one do the Joker and Duke and Hal stuff, and the other do Batman story? Like, there's 3 artists, right?
Yeah.
So why are we flipping through and we see, Duke and Joker done by Hubert, and then Duke and Joker done by JR, John Romita Jr. Took me a second, forgot his name. Mm-hmm. I just remembered his initials.
Very
but
good.
I don't like that. I don't like turning the page and it being a different artist. It just takes me out.
That's my biggest problem with the set of these, is that it just doesn't flow properly. When like say you've got it split up so easily already, you can divide it up just so neatly and not have this problem.
Especially the Hawk stuff, because that is like total flashback. Yeah. It's a completely different perspective. Like, you get away with having a different artist for that stuff if you do it that way.
Yeah. Exactly. So, but the first half I really did like, because I liked getting, trying to figure out what exactly Batman was doing. Because you see him fighting a griffin with Wonder Woman, but
yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I liked what the journals of Carter Hall, like what they were setting up there with the Immortals and stuff. I thought that was they really connected the Forge to the casting, and then we get to the back half, which I wasn't as big of a fan of. because it kind of takes liberties with the reader, and like
I think there's stuff I like about this, but it's kind of like what you said, Matt. There's stuff I like about this, but then there's stuff that feels very much like the worst parts of Snyder's Batman. And obviously they brought up that stupid machine, the stupid invention
I told you they were gonna when it popped up in All Stars. Like, he's reminding us of this.
Yeah, that stupid machine that never made any sense to begin with. Like, even reading his Batman, like, you can't recreate Bruce. Like, that's the one thing. Even as an anti-Bruce Wayne reader that I am, it's a very specific sense of circumstances that have built Bruce Wayne into being Batman. And you can't, like, that's the whole point of Dick Grayson as Batman. He's different. And even Tim Drake, if he ever takes over, he's going to be a different kind of Batman, even though they have similar pathways.
Yeah. I think a lot of the stories between Batman and these other characters is usually to show that while there are connective tissue, while there's stuff that connects them and bonds them, they are different people. And you see that all the time.
It just seems cruel that if he's wanting to create a Batman, because the whole point of this machine is to ensure Gotham always has a Batman, that you're going to plug someone into this machine and make them go through what Bruce did, and it's somehow going to make them just like Bruce is just, that's dumb. Like,
to be fair, it wasn't when this originally was brought up, there was a cloning machine as well, so there was just a Bruce Wayne, but he was blank. Because he worked out, like, when it was brought up originally in, I think it was Detective Comics 27, when they did that big issue. And it was, so they had a cloning machine, but whenever they came out blank, and he was like, right, this is the optimal amount of time that you can be Batman before your physical capabilities start to diminish, so you got to be replaced then. And that Batman then has to pass the memories along with this machine.
Yeah, I hate all of it. Now, I'm going to put a cap on this part of the conversation here, because we've spoken about this before and how much we hate this machine, or at least me and Matt have. Connor maybe not as much, but we have definitely had this conversation before. So let's go to actually talk about what's new in this issue and what the rundown of stuff is here. Because spinning out from that specifically, so when Bruce became Batman again, when he went into the machine to give himself his memories back, right at the end of Snyder's run. He had some of this metal. There's various different... so there's various subsets of it, though. There's Dionysium, there was other ones that they mentioned. There was like 3 or 4. But he had this one in his head. And because of that, when this machine went off, it triggered all these visions of other versions of him dying. And he basically got a glimpse, at least from what we can tell right now, of the Dark Multiverse. Right? That's what it seems to be. So that's what set off this obsession about trying to like find what's going on and what is the Dark Multiverse. He's looking for answers. That's kind of like what spurred on this whole quest that he seems to. And this is maybe part of my problem with these 2 issues. Really thinking about it, is that everything in these 2 issues are telling us, he's been on this quest, he's been doing everything he's been obsessed about this, and I feel like there's been nothing in any of the Batman books over the last year and a half or whatever it's been that hints that he's been doing any of this.
Yeah, Snyder hasn't been writing them.
It feels like Snyder in this book saying, no, Batman's been obsessed with doing this for ages. He's had Joker trapped in the basement in the Batcave. He's got his machine and all that. Apparently Duke ties into all this. We're going to get to Duke and his involvement in the whole thing. Which, yeah. So
I can just tell based on my sigh how I feel about that. Although I do like Joker calling him useless, because that's what we've called him numerous times. I don't know if sharing a thought with the Joker is necessarily the best thing, but
I do think that was intentional. I feel like that was meant to be like, that's how the reader does see him. Mm-hmm. And I think, to be fair, most people do see him as kind of useless, because what's he actually done in the last year?
He's been a frustrating character, because this whole vague thing where everyone keeps saying, is that the new Robin? And Batman's, no, he's something else. It's like, well, what's something else? You've been saying that for a goddamn year now. What the hell is something else?
Right. So I did actually appreciate the Joker still kind of point that out, and it felt like you were going, hey, no, we're aware you've been feeling this. That was intentional.
Mm-hmm. Joker was fine. Like his whole thing where he went off I think it was the end of Endgame. Where that was the arc, Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he went off the cliff inside the cave, and he landed apparently in some of this metal, and that's what healed his face. And
well, no, that was Death of the Family, because that's what healed his face, because he was healed by the time he came back.
Okay, Death of the Family, right? Whenever that happened, whenever he went off inside the cave, that's what healed his face. Was this metal? So he's kind of invested in what's going on, and that's partly why Batman's been But basically, there's hints like someone else says to Batman. I think it's Talia that says to him, "Oh, you've even got one of the signals in your cave, like one of these beacons." And it's whoever's coming from the dark multiverse, whoever this big bad's who's coming from this dark place is. It's all these to get to the later reveal, the metas that are sort of shining the way for him, because it's revealed that in the DCU, of course, we use the word meta to describe someone who has powers, right? Who have been altered in some capacity to have powers. Not all of them, of course. Superman's an alien, Wonder Woman's an Amazon.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of characters who don't fit into that category.
But that's the thing. Who else is a meta that we've seen? Because there hasn't been that many since even New 52. Because, like, I always remember Jay Garrick, that was his thing. He was a meta. And that his meta power allowed him to tap into the Speed Force.
Yeah.
You know, and they wrote that in later. But he's been gone. So everyone else has gotten their powers through science or technology. Like, you think through DC's roster, and they don't have a lot of people that just were born with power.
What about villains, though? Sure, there's a lot of villains, like Flash's Rogue Gallery and stuff. A lot of them must be metas.
Go through and think. Most of them still are getting their stuff through technology or, you know, alien stuff. Right? Like, so once they started bringing up metas,
I'm not comfortable blanket saying that since the New 52, there's been no metas. I guess I don't feel confident saying that.
An argument against it is all these people, you know, like the science activated the powers, but what if it was only because they were I think the word Talia uses is their potentials.
But so are we talking like Cyborg then? Like, he was always meant, like, he was this gifted athlete that had a metagene that wasn't activated until Darkseid.
No, I was thinking more someone like Barry Allen, you know, where it was a scientific experiment that kind of gave him the connection to the Speed Force at the time, right? So I guess
that's what I'm saying. It just for Snyder to suddenly bring up the metas, it's kind of weird considering they haven't played a huge. Like, sure, there might have been a villain here or there that was a meta, right? But it's not like they've been given the spotlight. So, you know, which is cool. Like, awesome. Create a whole new class of characters.
Yeah.
And I feel that's why they're doing it, to set up the stuff that's coming out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, even if we've not had a lot of metas recently, I'm sure this will be a factor in new metas coming forward. Like, you know, who are the new metas and whatnot. Honestly, though, my problems, if I have problems with this, don't relate to that. Like, because metas have just always been part of DC, so even if we've not seen them recently, I feel like, you know, they're out there, they exist. Like, they've always kind of been a part of the fabric of the world. The idea that meta is just the word metal missing the last letter, that bugs me a lot.
Well, because it comes from the term is meta-human, because they're not quite human.
Yeah.
But now they're metal humans minus an L. Like, that's dumb. We already have the metal men.
There's two things in here that just feels like super easy and kind of cheap little tricks. There's the whole meta being essentially metal without the L, and then there's the fact that nth metal is apparently the ninth metal that comes from this metal. I
talked to Pete about this earlier in the week. I was like, yeah, I always read it as ninth because I was kind of skimming through as a kid, and I was like, yeah, it's just ninth metal.
Yeah.
Missing that there's no.
I wonder if other people did do that though.
Yeah.
Other people might. I've always just read it as nth metal, and certainly whenever I've heard creators talk about it, it's always been nth metal, from what I remember.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with this one though.
Well, the fact that they set up this weapon of the gods that Wonder Woman gives, it's like Apollo's sword.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really cool. Like it's.
Yeah, the Sunblade.
Yeah, and that it was the 8th, and it's the strongest, but. The Wizard Shazam, which that was a dope moment that I really.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah, see, obviously, I was early on when you see the Hawks going to do this, like all these robed guys, and it's the Immortals, and you can tell one's Raz, where one's the vampire chick, Seward. Yeah. And obviously you could speculate as to who all the other Immortals are.
Well, because they mention, like, there's a caption in it, you know, they talk about a man as old as America, and then a man as old as
That's
the
right,
Earth.
yeah. There's some teases about who each of them are, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, the rhyming demon of Camelot. But we get the Wizard Shazam,
Well, that's the
and he
thing, though.
stabs.
You see him there, right, and you're not really sure. You're not positive that it's him. Like you're thinking, oh, it's got a beard. It looks kind of like Shazam. And then it's later on when he convinces Talia to hand over the dagger, and she's like, oh, apparently the wizard who made this, a little bit of his power's in there, and if you speak his name, you can hear it, and you're like, oh shit. And then you see the logo on the blade. You see the Shazam logo.
Do you know what I thought was most interesting though? It's the Black Adam colours.
It is, yeah, black and yellow or black and gold, whatever you.
Black and gold, but and that makes sense because he was first, right? Like,
yeah.
But so going back and rereading this before we recorded, there's a line in there that says his voice it rumbled like a low thunder, and I was like, well, that should have been the dead giveaway, like, and then he stabs that dagger into this console, which that console had meaning, I guess. Still don't understand that, but and he creates the ninth metal, which again is kind of creating a paradox because isn't that the nth metal that powers the Hawks and has always powered the Hawks? Like,
well, no, because part of the mystery they bring up here in the Hawk stuff is that they actually were reincarnating long before what they thought was their start point.
Right.
They're actually much older, but they can't remember their lives before that point.
Right.
So
past that did.
Yeah. So he's come in and he's like sort of made a cut off, and now they can't remember anything past that, which for them makes all this mystery. And talk about how there was the Judas of the Birds that defected and took the symbol of the bat, and all the rest of it, and all that stuff comes in.
And that's what I really like. That got my brain going was all that, like, if they're setting up like the bat or the enemy, right? And that's why we're getting these dark knights from the dark multiverse coming in. And what has happened here that's made Batman, who's one of the greatest heroes on Earth, what made him take the symbol of the bat?
I think what's so interesting about it for me as well is it was, like you said, it was the birds, and then one of them broke away to become the bat. And this is the bat's kind of come back and then brought all the birds into the fold with Robin.
Yeah.
And, all the other bird themes.
Right.
And then, of course, you have the Court Owls, just to go with the thematic.
Yeah. Even now, they seem to be forgetting that name, but Lark.
Lark, yeah, he's a bird. But what got me with the Court Owls, too, is if maybe they're the Judas. They represent the Judas of the birds that went with the bat because they're a nocturnal bird, that flies like a bat. So thematically, it fits in. And then there was another line about Carter Hall. Let me find it. It was early on.
Just to stay
that
on.
Plays into this too.
While Matt's looking for his line, this whole idea of like, part of me was worried as I was reading this because I was like, oh, is he going to go down some of this like, it was always Bruce's destiny to become a Batman because the bat means this and the bat means that, and I don't like. To me, a big part of Batman's characters is that it is an act of random that creates him. And it's not destiny. It's purely circumstantial, and it becomes something. He makes something out of it. Now, obviously,
because it's what he fears, and he's going to harness his fear to cause fear in other people.
Yeah, and maybe that's the idea here: is that the bat is a terrifying image, and he's retooled it for something good in our world. But all the other worlds, like, are all these dark Batman, are all these dark Batmen, are they the ones that broke away from the birds in each of their universes? And that's...
Are they angry that Bruce has co-opted the bat to become a symbol for good again? So possibly. They're like, no, we're coming to take it back because this is ours.
But who's the head honcho? Because the narration at the end, or the voice at the end specifically, they talk about someone's at the head of all this, the real father of Batman or something like that. It said
the true father.
It screams as Dr. Hurt though, like
Given that we're in multiple universes in the dark multiverse, I feel like that's probably not the case, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Well, no, I don't mean it's actually, but that was the whole thing in Morrison's run, that Hurt claiming he created the Batman, and he was Batman's father and stuff. But no, the line that I found, it's on the very first page, and it's Hawkman and Hawkgirl walking through the museum, and he says, like, the job never changed, he was an archaeologist, but the human story is a mystery told by a billion unreliable narrators. And for the duration of our species, I have been nothing more than a detective. And a detective's bolded, right? Yeah. But he represents the birds already. So that's what, again, makes me think, like, in a different set of circumstances, Bruce takes on the hawk symbol or a falcon symbol or whatever it is. But for whatever reason, whatever distorted this reality, because it says, Joker's talking about stuff's not right, lights become dark, birds have become bats. what changed that made Bruce take that symbol of the bat unknowingly, you know? And that's the mystery that I like going forward.
Wait, so you're thinking that Bruce was meant to take another symbol, but because this universe is different?
Yeah, like he was meant to take the bird. So, like you'd brought up, you know, that a bird had turned against and joined the bats. I feel like this is almost a bat turning against the bats and joining the birds, and that's what Bruce represents, because he's using the symbol of darkness for light. And that's kind of Batman in, you know, a nutshell.
Yeah.
He's kind of the hero that uses villain tactics.
I get it. It explains why he still surrounds himself with birds, because he still considers himself part of that family. He just doesn't realize that he's wrong by having the bat.
I don't know if I necessarily agree that something's not right, because I mean, you could read that Joker thing a lot of ways. You could even read that as a tease of like other stuff that's going on later with Rebirth if you want to.
Mm-hmm. True.
I don't necessarily think it's something that's wrong here. I think it'll maybe be a case of, like, ultimately if this is going to examine Batman as a character and, like, sort of see, okay, what makes him different from all these other universes and why is he the way he is, I don't necessarily think it's going to be a case of some divine universe interventions cause that. It might just be a simple case of, like, our world, our Earth, our universe is more special, or our Bruce is stronger than the other ones for whatever reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping the fact that they brought in that, I'm going to start calling it the Infernal Machine, right, is the fact that you can't copy Bruce Wayne. He is one of a kind. And the fact that in this Earth, he took the symbol of the bat.
I'll tell you this, right? Good. I'll tell you this right now. I still don't like the idea that Bruce ever had the idea to clone himself, right? I despise that idea. But if the ultimate point to that story is that he learns that you can't just clone Bruce Wayne, that there's only one true Batman,
right?
That I will accept that end result as the ultimate goal, as something good.
Me too. But that's what I was getting to. That if that's the point of that machine, is to show that no, you can't just create Batman. Batman happened because of Bruce. Then cool, because that's what it looks like they're setting up with these different versions that are coming that we got.
Yeah, to get cheesy. It's like the soul's an important part. You can't just make a copy. Right. Like it's who he is at his core. It's not just a series of decisions or events. It's who he is.
Right. And we kind of have got that through Snyder's run. Like all those backups that we got that Tynion helped write early on, and it showed how special he was. Like in that pit, which I always go back to. It's like probably one of my favorite Batman short stories where he's up in Norway and there's those pit fighters, but they're all afraid of him because he won't kill. He just wants to keep fighting people, and no one else is like that. And a lot of those stories were like that there's no one quite like him, so he stands out. And, that's cool. And you like that because he is the human that hangs out with the demigods.
Yeah.
Like, even Hal Jordan, who, he's a guy, but he has a wish ring that he can do anything with, But he has an Amazon goddess and an alien and a whatever cyborg is, half man, half machine.
Cyborg is.
But he's special enough to be there. In the Flash, like he stands out because he is the human amongst the gods. So if that's where this is going, cool, I'm down for it. But
there's just
Duke with the Green Lantern ring too. I was just like, come on, like
there's a lot of
you have to train to use that thing, man. Whether or not.
There's a lot of weirdness along the way. There's a lot of promising ideas in here. There's a lot of things that I think have a lot of potential to be good. There is a worry though that Snyder's going to Snyder it up, and that's a little concerning.
Hopefully Capullo reins them in though, because we know their legendary struggles between one another early on. So yeah, hopefully they can counterbalance. Just the fact that it's called Metal and it's supposed to be like this big, huge, like rock opera of an event, I'm hoping that supersedes a lot of swanky stuff.
Cool. Cara, you've been very quiet. Interject.
I'm a little bit more positive than you guys. I agree with the Duke stuff still. Like, I think he's a bit, we've been saying this since the start. He's kind of just irrelevant. And this feels a bit weird again. Like, I'm sure he had a name. I'm sure it was Lark. And then that seems to have been forgotten. Because, recently they've gone, no, he hasn't got a name yet. And now it's the Signal, was it?
Yeah, well, someone referred to him as the Signal, so I guess maybe that's going to be his new thing, possibly. maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
I see two outcomes at the end of this for Duke. Either he's going to be dead, he'll serve his purpose, and he's gone, in which case, okay. Or he will get a new identity because he'll become himself and realize who he is.
I'm going to
I
go with the
wonder how
latter
this plays
because
into Gotham Girl.
yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah,
We've seen that
that's
flash
true.
forward, so I don't think he can die, at least not yet.
That's fair. I think
What's Batman without a dead sidekick, Connor?
a young Batman.
It's true. Batman with Dick Grayson, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
What
yeah,
what if
early
Dick
days.
Grayson was just the first one to survive? Like he's had all these sidekicks before. He's like, no, but this one's the one. He's an acrobat.
No, so we have that, and I kind of agree. The Duke thing kind of feels like, okay, so Snyder, because Snyder said he's been seeding a lot of these things for a long time, and it feels like that was the thing. So as much as one of my complaints is they set up in these two books that Batman's obsessed with this right now, and I feel like that didn't really feel true because he's not actually really been hinting at it in any of the Batman stuff recently. Even his own book, from what I read up until when I quit All-Star Batman, it didn't feel like it was building to this.
No.
But at the same time, there's lots of little things that do feel like, yeah, he did seed those in. It just doesn't feel like he's obsessed with this. Stuff like the owls being there, stuff like he did, introduce Duke.
It feels like it's a symptom of him coming off the main book, where up to all that point, everything that was in that main book was seeding stuff for this. Like that is legitimately is coming up here. But since he stopped, and then we've got this year or so off where it's like, oh, this stuff was supposed to have happened with the obsession. And no one else has been showing that. I don't know if he just didn't reveal the plans early enough for anyone to show it.
If they weren't
or if he
solidified,
asked them
or...
to- Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. So as much as that's my complaint, it does feel like he introduced Duke with this purpose in mind. Like, and the annoying fact is it feels like he's been spinning his wheels with them for a long time
yeah.
because of it. So hopefully he will feel more purposeful by the end of this. Honestly, the fact that he was able to or tried to fight Green Lantern, and the fact that he can use the ring already so easily, it feels a bit weird. It feels a bit forced. But whatever, right? I'll go. I will say this. I did like Hal being like, "Yeah, Joker, I've not got my ring, but you put me next to like a bat plane. I'm a pilot, you idiot." Like, and he's, so that was good stuff.
I really like the whole the birds and the bats thing.
Me too.
I think that's going to be fantastic.
I do like that so far as well. I do want to point out one of the scenes with the Hawks when they were trying to investigate everything at Challenger Mountain, and stuff went a bit wonky, bit haywire. Catastrophe struck, and we get this glimpse of eyes, this big monster. I don't know, it could be Cthulhu, it could be anything, I have no idea.
If it's Cthulhu, then I applaud, because that's some storytelling. But yeah, whatever that is, it's big and scary, and that piques my interest.
It does excite me that whoever this big bad is that's coming from, like, because obviously, even though we've got these dark Batmen, they're not the ultimate big bad here. It does excite me that it might be like kind of like cosmic horror in a way, where it is this big ridiculous thing, this big god-like monster. Like, I'm kind of excited by that idea. That's pretty cool.
Also, I really think Snyder is very much like Johns in that he has a thing for the Hawks. Like, because he's kind of putting Hawkman on the same level as Batman here, but with that opening line about him being a detective, and it's kind of saying that. he's the bird to go with the bat, and he's really on the same level.
Yeah.
He's working the Blackhawks in too.
Yeah.
Which we saw in All Star, which he kind of used a perverted form of them there, and so here they look like they're working on the same side with Carter Hall and Shira. So.
Going back of the issue, I really like that he's fighting a griffin at the start, because that's kind of like half bird.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out as well, Wonder Woman tells him whatever he does not to lose the sword, and he trades it the first chance he gets. I just want to point out how quick he is.
That is a pretty dope dagger. Like, I can't. A burning sword's cool, but a dagger with a lightning bolt on it is cool too. But I'd probably keep the flaming sword. Just, it's so useful.
It's
and it's got a cool name, the Sunblade.
Yeah, I'm just going through now and picking up points that we've not mentioned yet. It's worth mentioning that after the disaster, Hawkman seemingly walks into the Dark Multiverse. Not sure how that quite lines up with other Hawkmans we've seen recently, but whatever, I'll let it go. It's fine. Not worth losing sleep over it. So No, so what else have we... Obviously, we've not really talked about the ending yet. The first glimpse we get of everything. So Duke puts on the ring, and because he's special, and he's got this meta gene in him, and he's like a beacon, he's the signal, to use the exact word they used, for whatever's coming. He's able to use the machine, that stupid machine that Batman built, along with his power, along with the Green Lantern ring, to show him something. It's kind of convoluted, actually, when you really say it out loud like that. There's a lot of elements that go in there, but Batman goes up and he gets a vision of something that's coming, and we get these beastly bat-like creature thingamajigs, and dark days are over, dark nights are coming, and we get a glimpse of the Dark Batman that we've heard about. You can clearly see the Wonder Woman one. I think that's is that the Flash one? No, it's not the Flash one. It's hard to tell.
I think the Flash one's maybe the one at the front.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm just saying, I'm kind of glad there's not a Superman
that
one.
looks like two little lightning bolts that are making the bat to me. That one at the front.
Hey, Matt, what if the reason why things are different in this world is because Superman's not in the Dark Multiverse, and it's the influence of Superman that actually ensures that...
Then I'm cool. Because there's a Doomsday one. Like, you
that's
definitely
true.
see that one in
that's
the
the one at the
back.
back.
What if like in these Dark Multiverses though, Doomsday is actually just Clark Kent?
I will throw something. You hear it now.
Matt, it's the Dark Multiverse. They're all evil.
Yeah, but I kind of like the idea that Superman being powered by the sun is light personified. So it would make sense his character's not in the Dark Multiverse, where you can kind of pervert the rest of them. Although the Green Lantern by that thing too shouldn't be there because he's light. But
what if he is there, right? But because there's no sun, he's just a sweet little, like Flashpoint. He's just a sweet little guy who can't do anything.
That Snyder wrote that mini, so I wouldn't put it past him.
That's a good point.
He wrote but I just want to point out that the dude in the cloak behind them all looks like Time Trapper. So I'm just throwing that out there.
You heard it here first. If Time Trapper's revealed to be the one behind all this, Matt gets points.
Time Trapper was revealed to be Superboy Prime in one of John's Legion miniseries. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying Superboy Prime. I'm saying it looks remarkably like the Time Trapper. So I think that's pretty cool. That's all.
Yeah, last thing I want to say is that I really like the Joker's whole thing where he's like, no, I'm not the villain this time. And, when he talks to Hal, he's like, no, the Guardians sent you here to stop something. This is what they were trying to tell you to stop. Yeah. And I like the idea that it's such a big thing that even the Joker's like, hang on a second. Mm-hmm. It gives some perspective.
They will have to justify that, though. Like... For if this is so bad that even the Joker wants to stop it, they're going to have to justify to me with the how bad it is later that this works for me.
That's fair. It could fall flat later on.
Yeah.
For now, I like it.
Okay, I guess.
So enough with bats and birds. It's time to get back to bats and clowns. That's what I love, Joker. Always putting himself over. Of course. I'll help Batman if it means I get back to terrorizing him.
Alright, so I guess we spent a long time on that, quite rightly, because it was packed with dense stuff. So Metal starts next month. So
finally,
we'll see. How does Plastic Man figure into this? Does Hawkman come back? Probably does. How do the Hawks?
I did read a little interview after this. Apparently, there's something inside Plastic Man. He's in the egg shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's holding something inside him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh dear.